For a lot of us, this is our first day after declaring to wage war. Waging war on whatever's troubling us, whatever's ailing us, whatever's been haunting us for a long time. If that's you, just real quick in the comment section or on a piece of paper, just write down, I declared war today, or I declared war. You don't have to put what about or anything. Just write it down. Because I want to know that, first, that I'm not fighting this alone. Second, that you're not fighting this alone. And third, when there's a group of people that declare something for whatever reason, the odds seem to turn in your favor immediately. It's like a camaraderie in a way, like a companionship in a way. Even if you don't know the person or the people, you just know that you're not the only one out there doing this. And that's encouraging. What I spoke of yesterday with getting to know yourself on a deep level with personality test and all that, I was serious. I have done that. I've done that personality test. I swear I'm going to post about it tonight. That's on my agenda for today, by the way. It's a goal I set for myself. So that way you can kind of see the framework. But I was very serious about it. It is helpful. I'm not just speaking words. I don't speak words anymore and then not have an action that follows. It's just not how I'm built. I'm big on action, and it's just the way I am. So that first step of getting to know yourself is very, very important, very, very vital in this war. Secondly, and for me, I had to redo this because, well, basically I was forced to. When you're looking at core values, man, this hit me really hard. When you're looking at core values, for myself, I had to restructure them completely, and reason being, I was only left with one after everything that I've been through. One. Everything else was crumbled. All my other ones couldn't stand the test of time or anything. I was left with one. This used to be my number 10. The other 9 crumbled. Now it's 1, and I'm okay with that. It's a good starting point. What used to be number 10 was my faith for a very long time. It was just there. Something like I could feel good about, like, oh yeah, faith, that's a core value of mine. Not in any season has it ever been the most important one. Now that I look at this, sorry, it's hot in here. Now that I look at this, I'm left with this one, faith. Everything else has not stood up to what I've been through. Nothing. And it's humbling. For those of you that, and I'm not, listen, okay, I know that some of you aren't going to relate to me because of faith. I get it. It's fine. But this is helpful for me, and I'm going to share this with you, and if you want to listen, cool. If not, that's all right too. But faith for me absolutely has to stay number 1. There's no negotiating around that for me. There's no maybe one time something else will take precedence. No, for me it's number 1. And I encourage everybody to have at least one core value that's foundational. That has to be number 1 in any season of life, because we have to have a core value that can stand up against the seasons of life. You got to have at least one. It can be friendship, it can be family, it can be an emotion like love, it can be any core value. However, I'm going to caution you with this. I'm a scientific person, analytical, and I really do believe in experimentation. You have to have a core value that is not changed by conditions. It has to stand the test of time. In any experiment, you're going to have internal variables, you're going to have external variables. Those are the things it has to stand up against. Uncontrollable circumstances, things you have zero control over in your life, what each day brings. Your core value has to stand up to that because it's foundational. For me, it's faith, and I'm going to explain why. So I've always had a belief in God. I've always had a belief in Jesus. Maybe not always the right way. You know, I used to be really legalistic and allowed the law of the Bible to overstep my love, the love that Jesus shares in the New Testament. That it trumped all that, okay? But faith for me, it's been a struggle, been a roller coaster for sure, because I was never all in on it. Like I said, it used to be number 10. Now it's my only number 1 out of my 10 core values. And I was really thinking about this, that is the one that has stood the test of time. It's very ironic in my eyes. But here we are. So faith. I'm going to share something. Quite a few of you already know. Some of you might not know, and others of you, this is the first time you're listening to me, but here we go. So, the younger version of me, when I was a child, I went to church, did all those things, and I really enjoyed it. I really did. I really enjoyed being around people that believed in Jesus. I loved it a lot. Probably naive to the world, but hey, when you're a little kid, you dream, and you dream of great things, and that's the way it should be. So when I was little, I loved it. I loved being around people. I loved going to youth groups. I loved doing all of that stuff. As I got older, as life got more difficult, for some reason, my faith took a back seat. It was like it wasn't relevant to me. And I think a lot of us experience this. Some of us probably maybe hate the church because of this, or hate the Bible because of this. I don't know. Okay, I'm just going to share with you what my journey in this. So as I got older, sports became more important. Friendships became more important. Social status became more important. A lot of things became more important, and my faith was just there. It's just there. But it never left. May have felt like it left to me, but it didn't. It was always there. So, through my teen years and, college years, I always took a back seat. And then it kind of ramped up a little bit. Have a family, got kids, try to mature a little bit, dive back into it. Cool. Became a priority again. Maybe not the number 1 priority, but at least I prioritized it. However, I was completely shaken to my core when my dad completed suicide. Changed my viewpoint for a long time. And I was very resentful. I was very upset with God, with people that even talked about him, with people that would try to encourage me. Even though I knew they had the best intentions, I was still upset. I didn't want to have any part of that. Because, man, I was there. I was fighting that battle with him. And I thought he was going to overcome it. I thought, there was some light shedding at the end of the tunnel. And then the tunnel caved in and he was just gone. Just gone. And don't really know how to, didn't know how to cope with that, didn't know how to grieve that. And that just completely shook me to my core. Maybe the first instance in my life where my core values just were completely gone. And, there's a story. There is a parable in the Bible about the prodigal son. And I have completely hated this story for such a long time. Because I would get related to this and it would upset me. I'm like, you don't know, people that are talking to me, like, you don't know. You don't try to talk to me about this. I would become very closed off, very resentful. However, man, recently this just hit me like a ton of bricks. So the prodigal son, father, two sons, and they want their inheritance. The youngest son wants his inheritance so he can go spend it freely, right? So the father grants it to him, gives him his inheritance, and he goes off. Does a lot of foolish things. Long story short, ends up with nothing, and he, at the end of this, is basically sleeping with the pigs, and was considered lower than even being a human being at that time. And he thought to himself, if I go back and I plead with my father to at least be a servant, his servants get treated better than what I'm currently going through. And, I related that a lot to my failures in life after my dad being gone, and failed business, failed relationships with family members, fail. Bankruptcy, fail. Everything failed. However, that was the wrong thing I focused on at that time. So anyway, the younger son starts coming back to his dad, and his dad sees him in a distance, and he just books it, takes off for him, braces him with open arms, wants to throw a giant feast, do all these things because his son returned. He found his son. And gosh, that part really made me mad, because after my dad passed away and I'm wandering through life what felt like alone, failing and everything, even if I wanted to turn around, even if I didn't have a dad to run back to, he was gone. And man, I hated that for a long time. Like, people don't even bring that up to me, because I would pop off. I would throw the walls up, and I would just be done. Be like, nope. But this, and I promise you, this is all going to make sense in the end, so just hang with me. But recently, it's come to my attention, okay, that a lot of, and people want to say, well, you could have turned around and, God was there. He's your father. I know. That's not what I'm talking about. But I get it. Just trying to be encouraging. I get it. That's not what I needed at that time, okay? I was lonely. Loneliness is such a deep feeling. And I didn't need it at the time. I was like, I need an actual person. I need somebody that I can turn around and they're like, hey, I know what you're going through has been really, really hard, and you've had to cope with some decisions that you've made that may have not been the greatest, but it's okay. That's all I needed. I just needed one person to just embrace me, to hug me. And I looked for it. I put some people in some unhealthy positions unknowingly. And I don't recommend you ever put a pastor in a position that is considered like a fatherly mentor, because guess what? They have families of their own, their dads, their husbands, and you put them on that pedestal, it's gonna end up in failure. And I had to learn that the hard way. But it's come to my attention recently as my core values have just kind of crumbled in front of me, and the one left standing is the one that I never really made a priority. With what I have experienced over the last 3 weeks, I want to say, nothing short of life-changing. I spoke about this in my blog of my transformation being similar to like the Apostle Paul, on his Damascus road, and that's really what it felt like to me. Really did. It was just stuck out to me. You know, I was walking in the darkness for so long, that the minute God turned that light on, it was like, holy cow. You know, like this is me. You know, I became found again. I became found because I found my faith. For me, that's important. For me, that's my number one core value now. For you, could be totally different, and I respect that. However, this is all going to tie together, okay? I promise. So, the prodigal son story, you know, people take to it what they want. This is terrible. I don't even know what book of the Bible it's in. It's one of the 4 Gospels. Whatever. Maybe Luke. Who knows? Ask a pastor. But, so I'm relating to some things. And, my eyes are open. I've kind of turned a corner in my life. And I was kind of forced to. When it's willing, it's different. When it's forced, you have to make tough decisions real quick. But for me, it was needed. So, number one core value, you have to have one that has to just stand the test of time, okay? You got to have one value that is coupled with 2 or 3 in every season. So that way you don't lose a sense of who you are. You don't lose a sense of what you value in your life. Of, if, you know, people are going to disappoint you, people are going to lie to you, because they're human. It's human nature. It's human nature. But you have to have a core value you can tie to say, okay, I know what that boundary is with that person. And I'm going to cut them that slack because I know that they're human and I shouldn't expect that of them to be anything more than what they're capable of. Those are healthy things to really tie to. So for me, it's faith, okay? And my faith has stood every single test in my life. It's the only thing standing. Even when I didn't want it to be, it still was. My experiment failed miserably because that's not what I wanted my result to be. And I couldn't play with that. You can't sway that experiment. That experiment is true. My faith stood there even when I didn't even want it to be. It was still there. So, from number 10 to number 1. Because the other 9 failed. Faith. Faith can be a lot of things to a lot of people. For me, it's faith in Jesus. For you, it could be faith in a different religion. It could be faith in just whatever you tie your values to, okay? Faith. Foundational, okay? And I'm going to say something that about all of this that really sparked this in me today. Woke up, and today's been great day. It's Sunday. It is gorgeous. I'm sweating in my car, but it's just such a nice day. It's calm, sun shining, no wind, just beautiful. Couldn't ask for a better day in November. But I woke up today and I really wasn't sure what emotion I was feeling. Okay, it was like I was feeling a multitude of emotions. Mainly, if I had to boil it down to, I felt overwhelmed. Overwhelmed in a good way. So, in the past, I used to be overwhelmed with anxiety. I used to be overwhelmed with depression, with negative self-talk. I used to be overwhelmed with things I couldn't control, but I was still overwhelmed by them. You flip the page, and everything I just explained, the new me, the new person I am now overwhelmed with joy. I'm overwhelmed with feeling loved. I am overwhelmed with knowing that my faith is so important to me, and it's my foundation, that I feel overwhelmed by all these great things, these good things now. And don't get me wrong, anxiety is still there. Depression is still there. But when I test that against my core value, those things fail. My faith stands firm. That's big for me. That was a huge realization for me, and I got to talk about it. I got to talk about it. Because my faith, when I look at my other core values that failed, if my faith was number one, none of those would have failed. None of them. None of them would have failed. And I see that now. Didn't see that in the past. I see that now. And guess what? That's when I wage war, that's my number one thing. My war is different than yours. Okay? Not saying it's great, it's more important, not saying any of that. Like, all of our wars are going to be different. But you have to have a foundational core value that you can lean on to help you come up with your blueprint to defeat that on a daily basis. On a daily basis. It's good stuff. Man, I'm already at 21 minutes, but I'm excited to continue this series with you guys. And if you want to reach out, and say, hey, I'm going to war with you. You don't even have to tell me what it's about. That's awesome. I would love to hear that. I would love to know that I have people around me that are doing this for themselves, because it's brave, it's courageous, it's a tough thing to do, and you're willing to do it. That's a big step. So keep fighting the good fight for yourself. Okay. Take that personality test if you have not done that yet, because that's probably, again, foundational. That's one of them. Because if you don't know who you are, if you don't know what makes you tick, it's going to be very hard to set boundaries around your core values and to know how to handle the emotions that are overwhelming when it's brought up. So if you struggle with anxiety and you don't know how to cope with it, it's going to spiral. It's going to be a vicious cycle. So let's do this together. Okay, let's take these steps together. So for me, I spoke a lot about faith today because that's my core value. Might not be yours. That's fine. If it is, that's cool too. But I want you to find it, okay? I want you to really search. After you find yourself in a personality type, I want you to look within yourself to know what is at your core. What makes you tick? What is a value of yours that is unnegotiable, that stands the test of time, that stands every trial, that is always there? What is it? That should be number one for you. That's where you got to start. So let's do this together. We're going to wage war. We're going to defeat this. And we're going to have good days. We're going to have bad days. Okay? When there's a war going on, some of it's unpredictable. You got to have great structure to know how to handle every situation that's thrown at you. And we're going to do that. I'm going to help you do that. Hopefully, anyway. Also, on a side note, some pretty good news. And I don't do this, so for me, this is super uncomfortable. But on my website, livingwithabrokenmind.com, there is now a shop tab, and there's a range of different products on there. And it's not for me. It's just to bring awareness. If you buy a sweatshirt with a mental awareness picture on it, that's cool. So it's on there. So if you guys are interested, it's on the website. It's all set up. Yeah. It's a new thing for me. I can't really promote very well. So this is my first step. Hope it's going well. Other than that, this is a new week coming up. Let's start it off well. If you declared war, let me know in the comment section. Send me an email, a Facebook message. If you want it to be more private, again, you do not have to tell me what you're waging war on. That's your private information. But if you just want to let me know that you're in this fight with me, let me know. Okay? So enjoy the rest of your day. Get those first 2 steps accomplished. First of all, personality test. Second of all, core values. Just, find that. If you can't find more than one, just find the one that means the most to you. And we will build off of that. Okay? Have a good day. We'll talk soon.